Meet the Farmer TV is made possible by the generous support of Planet Earth Diversified and Melly Productions, with additional support from Flavor Magazine, serving the Piedmont's local food and wine culture. Hello, I'm Michael Clark, and welcome to another exciting edition of Meet the Farmer TV here in Central Virginia. Now let's go talk to Virginia Farm Bureau and find more about the hidden benefits and deeper values of local agriculture, how it affects children, Virginia farms, and the local economy. So you're here in the Richmond, Virginia Association for Biological Farming Conference. Are you here just to promote the Save Our Food program and help people realize they can become members of Virginia Farm Bureau?
We are here to tell people about the Save Our Food campaign. We always are open to opportunities to talk about it. And actually we have somebody in our department who's actually coming here for the conference. She's an actual farmer and does peppers and garlic. So we have a couple different representations here.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
What is the Save Our Food program?
The Save Our Food program was started in August of last year, and really it is the campaign to educate consumers about the cause of food independence and a safe, fresh, and local food supply. Farm Bureau, who's been around since 1926, has always been about agriculture, and this is a new way for people to not only learn about producer members across the state, but also how they can join in and be a part of it.
Wow. So now, tell me more about what the Farm Bureau is. I mean, we have insurance with the Farm Bureau, and that's kind of how I know them.
Right.
But I don't know what the Farm Bureau is or why they would. I mean, I understand why they'd be concerned about farms and preserving local food systems and that sort of stuff. But I don't really know what the Farm Bureau is.
Virginia Farm Bureau started as a grassroots organization, and the grassroots organization was created in order to help farmers have a voice at the state legislature and just a statewide organization to get policy at the state capitol and to help farmers with various things that were, whether it be land usage taxation or all these different things. The insurance company, what a lot of people think we are when they hear Farm Bureau, unfortunately, it started in 1950s because farmers had a hard time finding insurance policies, and that's really, it was born out of the Federation. We have 88 county farm bureaus. Policy is pushed from the county level up, so it's completely a grassroots policy, the way the policy is pushed through the legislative group. We've been around, like I said, since 1926. We have about 147,000 members statewide, and we're looking to grow that and really telling the story about Farm Bureau and about the cause of Save Our Food. We're hoping people will get behind us and actually join the cause. We have a lot of different aspects to the organization, everything from our Young Farmer program, which is farmers from the age of 18 to 35, really a mentoring program, and they do county level events, to our legislative group who works at the state capitol to help with producer policy. We have a field services group which goes out and works with the counties for whether it's county fairs or whatever, and just tries to broaden the reach of the Farm Bureau. Our communications group, we produce the new magazine for our associate members called Cultivate, which is educating consumers about where their food comes from. We have recipes from Chef Maxwell. We have gardening tips from Andre Viette. We even have a children's section called Digging It, which is the information is supplied by our Agriculture in the Classroom group. Everything from word puzzles to information for kids to get involved with agriculture in the state of Virginia. We do press releases, and we've got new marketing campaigns that have come out, everything from social media to TV spots educating people.
Right. Well, we certainly seem to have a match here with Meet the Farmer TV, and we have a lot of the producers that we're talking to today that are looking for some of that insurance help, and because they want to sell to organizations that are requiring liabilities, and their normal insurance venues don't understand what to do with that.
Right.
So how now? So it's a Virginia Farm Bureau. Is there a Farm Bureau throughout the nation, or is it just a state organization?
Each state has a Farm Bureau. The American Farm Bureau is the national level, which works in DC, and part of your membership fees go to the American Farm Bureau to help at a national level. But every state has a Farm Bureau. North Carolina, Tennessee, they all have individual Farm Bureaus. started at different times, but they all do similar things, but not exactly the same thing. Each state is different. Each, depending on your commodity, different aspects, different ways that they help producer members. It just varies depending on the state.
Now, the Save Our Food program, is that something from Virginia?
That is something that was just started by Virginia Farm Bureau. Okay. We've been working on and off in different groups to really figure out. I mean, Farm Bureau has such a storied past and has been around for so long and so many different aspects to it. And we're working with to figure out what is the way to tell that story. Mm-hmm. A lot of people had a hard time telling, what Farm Bureau is, and really the brand of the Farm Bureau is the membership advantage. So not only do you get you're behind the cause of saving our food, but also you get discounts for becoming a member through our field services group, everything from Avis and Budget to Choice Hotels to the legislative policy and grassroots aspect at the state capitol, to the Young Farmer Group, to our women's committee programming, to our communications group, our marketing commodities, which helps farmers stay in business and find new ways to use their product, and to help them actually create business plans. So it was really just kind of the need to actually tell the story, and that's what all this really was born out of, the Membership Advantage and the Save Our Food campaign.
That's interesting. I know we take advantage of some of the discounts. We get a lot of repair parts from Grainger.
Grainger, yes.
And it's great. Fan breaks in the greenhouse. We just go type in the numbers on the computer, and the next day it shows up UPS.
Right.
It's really very powerful for us.
Yeah, and there's so many different discounts that it's hard to even put into a brochure.
Yeah.
And they're always changing. I mean, everything from just associate members who have insurance but don't know that much about the Federation. We have Verizon Wireless, something that we're looking at, or the Avis and Choice, discounts, and then you've got, like you said, for more of the producer members, the Grainger, or the rollover in our safety group for the rope section. We got discounts for child safety seats. I mean, there's just so many different things that the Farm Bureau can offer members.
Is the Farm Bureau totally funded just by membership?
Membership, and then our insurance organization is a separate entity. Okay. But I mean, the membership is where, $40 annual membership is where things come from.
Wow. Now there's something else, fairs, part of the foundation?
Our marketing commodities groups works with the fairs program. And really that, I don't know. I mean, I know a general amount about it, but I can't probably go into as much detail as you might want for the fairs program.
But is that a separate foundation that's administered by the
They work in partnership with that group, and I'm not sure all the details behind it, so I can get you somebody to answer that question.
Yeah, I know we have an upcoming conference in Charlottesville. The Virginia Agricultural Food Business Entrepreneurship Program is a 2-day conference, and somebody from FAIRS was involved in
Okay, probably Chris Cook, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Might be he's usually the point person for the FAIRS group.
Now, to get back to the Save Our Food, it's really a campaign that you guys are doing to help people understand what Farm Bureau is, to help people recognize the value of supporting their local farmers. So it's kind of a win-win for all three groups, for the organization, for the farmers, and for the consumer.
It really is. And I mean, unfortunately, a lot of times, consumers don't think about where their food comes from, which is something that I think all organizations are trying to educate people. Some children, you ask them where their food comes from, and they say the grocery store, which is something that we're trying to put out there and educate people. We have a couple TV spots that will be coming out this summer that actually, one's a grocery store scene and one is a restaurant scene, really taking it back to people's dinner plates and making that connection for people.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So what more can we do? I mean, that's our whole concept with Meet the Farmer TV is food from the farm to the plate. We've talked to a couple of people at Farm Bureau, and we want to get somebody to actually from the insurance group to talk to us, but there's so many people that are like, I can't sell because I don't have $3 million liability, and we actually didn't find it was that difficult. We called our local agent and said, and he said, I'll fax it right over to you, and you can send it to, so.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for the insurance aspect, you can go to Farm Bureau Advantage. .com, and you can find your local agent, and they'll be more than happy to help you with whatever products that you need. When it comes to the Save Our Food campaign, you can go to the website saveourfood.org, and that website has everything from a zip code search for farmers markets, everything within a 50-mile radius of your zip code it will pull down. We're looking at adding a CSA finder and a local food restaurant finder as well on the site this year. We have stories, everything from agriculture census information that came out to stevia and the new sweetener, and how it's not really new, it's been around for years.
Right, yeah.
And the peanut butter, you know, what is safe, and peanut butter is fine, but it's the peanut butter paste. Just a lot of educational pieces for the consumers to look at. We have local recipes, an event calendar for things all across the state of Virginia, and a way to go online and join and get your $40 annual membership.
So anybody can join the Virginia
Anybody can. If you are behind agriculture and all about saving local foods for the state of Virginia, you can go online to saveourfood.org and join via credit card or check. We have both payment options. And just, like I said, it's a $40 annual membership, and the discounts will more than pay for themselves in the course of the year. So
you don't have to be a farm or have a bunch of cows in the field?
No, you can be everything from an apartment in downtown Richmond all the way to living in Southwest Virginia on 40 acres.
Wow.
You can join just for the cause of saving our food.
That's terrific. Now, are there different members? You know, is there a producer member and associate members and different?
We do break them down as to associate member and producer member. Associate members are whether they're joining for the cause or have insurance products, and then also we have our producer member, which is about 30-some thousand producers across the state of Virginia.
Wow, that's great. Well, terrific. Well, maybe we can get you some segments of Meet the Farmer TV for your website.
Definitely. And our Down Home Virginia program, which I don't know if you've seen, we do that monthly.
The Norm Hyde?
Norm Hyde, yeah. And they do everything from features that we've done in our magazine to a ninth generation. I think the most recent was a ninth generation chocolatier in Northern Virginia area who uses local ingredients, all the way to beef in the state of Virginia. Wow. So a lot of great stories and clips from Chef Maxwell and Mark Viette as well.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So we cover everything. Is there anything else that we left out?
No, I think that, I would encourage people to go out and check out Save Our Food and learn more about the Farm Bureau and what Farm Bureau has to offer, not just producers, but people statewide and consumers across the state.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Virginia Farm Bureau is a membership organization that's comprised of 88 different county farm bureaus that come together to form the Virginia Farm Bureau. Those producer members came together to join their voice as one for lobbying efforts in Richmond to help the farmer have a voice in Richmond, and also to provide membership services to those members through the ways of insurance and other membership advantages that we have throughout Virginia Farm Bureau. Currently, we're about 148,000 members throughout the state of Virginia, and I think we're well over 40,000 producer members in there. Producer members are an active producer of agricultural products or owner of farm land or forestry land. And a producer member is defined by each county, and you have to be elected, or you have to be approved by your county board to be a Farm Bureau member. You can be an associate member. Anyone who has insurance through Virginia Farm Bureau has to be a member, and you can be an associate member, just not to the producer member standard. Virginia Farm Bureau is made up of large producers and small small families and large families. What a lot of people don't recognize when they start labeling farms as corporate agriculture, many of those corporate owned farms are just business structures, and they're all owned by families, and they all have families to support. It has become more a necessity to become a larger scale operation in today's environment to be an economy of scale to survive financially, because that's ultimately what's going to define our ability to maintain and be a sustainable operation, is the economic viability of each operation. But we do have countless members throughout the state of Virginia that would meet a category of large producers, small producers, family operators, weekend farmers, you name it, weekend gardeners, or just in fact who love agriculture in general. And many members may not have an active part in production agriculture, but they recognize the value of agriculture, and they want to make sure they belong or members of an organization that helps support agriculture. And a movement we've seen definitely come throughout in the last years is a buy fresh, buy local movement. And the Virginia Farm Bureau has a website ourselves to SaveOurFood.org. What we really want to get out of that is let people bring their awareness about that the food they get at the grocery store and the food that they take for granted every day, that they can, where it comes from. And it does come from here, local farms, local producers, and that we need agriculture to be a part of every community. So many times when we look at local land issues or local government issues, it seems like agriculture, everyone seems to push agriculture out somewhere. Agriculture is something that takes place in the Midwest or in a certain region of the country. Well, agriculture needs to be a part of every community, and agriculture is a very big part of Albemarle County, and it needs to continue to be a big part of Albemarle County for everyone's benefit, not just the producers, because when it's all said and done, we all share the common resources that we all live here in Albemarle County, and we're all better for the efforts of the producer members who take advantage of those things. A big question mark of many local governments is, how do you save the farms? Well, one of the ways you save a farm is to make sure they're so economically viable and strong that anyone would be a fool to sell the farm. Well, that definitely hasn't been the case over the last 30 years. You've seen more and more farms being sold to development and higher use values. But if we actually had a higher end product, we could make a larger wage or a larger profit from what we produce on the farm, then you see less and less people going away from the farms to support their families, coming back to the farms to raise their kids on the farms, and to also have a standard of living that they feel comfortable with. And that's the best way to save farmland, is to save the viability of the economic enterprise as well as the social and lifestyle that we all benefit from as well. Well, we definitely need to know all the options out there. So many times when we look at raw commodities, we're in a one-track mind of how those commodities are produced. So you see the entrepreneurs in the world, especially those entrepreneurs in agriculture who think about things differently or see things differently, or how we could possibly do it different. Well, we shouldn't see those people as outsiders or anything of that nature. We need to see them as visionaries, and we need to follow their lead. And if they have a good idea, well, let's follow that good idea and let's make a business enterprise out of it. So you're seeing more and more of that type of thing as we develop. And you go through, so many times you go to the supermarket shelf, we see so many refined products and so many products on the supermarket shelf that they're just marketing. That's all they are. Where we need to get back to figure out where those products really came from and really try to identify what food you're eating to begin with, not just the marketing label that is associated with it. And so both the Buy Fresh, Buy Local movements and the Save Our Food movements, and this whole let's get back to know our food idea, know who it comes from. I had a great visit a year or so ago down with a distributor for Food City, and he was responsible for buying all the produce for Food City in there. And he said his best marketing campaign by far was to simply put a picture of the farmer that grew the produce next to the bin of produce when it come in, and he said it flew off the shelves. You know, let's get to know the families and the faces of the people producing your food again. Let's not take it for granted, just go to the supermarket and picking it up, throw it in a bag and paying the cheapest price for it. And we do need to get away from the cheap food policy, because input costs are going up, and to match the input costs necessary to producing food and to still try to produce a cheap food product, a lot of that cheap food's coming from overseas. And I don't think that's the best thing in the world for this country either. So we need to pay attention to what's going on in the trends, and we need to do our part. And I think as the consumer, which is ultimately the driver of the market, comes about and he says he wants to spend his dollars with a local farmer. I mean, if you're going to spend $10 anyway, let's go give the $10 to the farmer, put it directly in his hand, and not do the trickle-down method and let him end up with $2 in the end. Let's put that $10 directly in his hand and circumvent our distribution system and buy it directly from the farm. And go out and see the enterprise and see where that food is produced and understand the cultural and the environmental challenges that they have to face every day to produce that food, and you'll definitely get a different appreciation from it. So when the consumer says, we really like to know where this food comes from, we feel better, have a more subconscious connection to the food that we're consuming when we know where it came from and when it came here local. You know, you're getting local wines now, making choices of local foods, meats, vegetables. Well, fantastic. Well, then let's sign them up and let's get them all marketed. Farm Bureau, where we can come through with Farm Bureau, is to make sure everyone knows. If there's food out there to be purchased, Well, let's make sure everyone knows it and where you can go and get that. And like I say, we need to be able to set these small marketing structures up for every community throughout the state of Virginia. So if there's a family of wanting a fresh local product directly from a farm, well, you shouldn't have to drive an hour to get it. We should be able to find it efficiently and quickly and go do it and have a wonderful experience with the family when you go and do it. Just this past weekend, my wife and I, we have 4 children. We decided, let's go find a pumpkin. We went up on top of Carter's Mountain where the Childs family's been producing apples in the orchard business here in Albemarle County for generations. And they run one of the finest operations here in the state of Virginia, Carter's Mountain here in Charlottesville, or the Childs Peach Orchard out in Crozet. And it's just an absolutely wonderful time for the family. And you see your children's faces light up when you go to the farm and you hold them up into the trees to pick the highest apple they can find, or the freshest peach they can find, or in the spring of the year, the fresh strawberries when they are right off the vine. That's the experience that are connected with the food. And when you can tie an experience with the taste, by gosh, that's something that sinks deep. And that changes people. And when you can have that in context later on in life, when someone's talking about certain policies and politics or the things that we're consumed with as an adult, well, unless you can put those type of things into context of how it really would affect you or change, you really aren't as smart as you probably think you are. Community share agriculture events and the farmers markets, fantastic. Directly connect the farmers, get the farmers' face there with the products they produce. The CSAs, you sign a prescription and we're going to provide you produce and breads or whatever, eggs, whatever we decide to provide you, fresh cut flowers, and those, great. Let's directly connect you to it, put the dollar bills directly in the farmer's hand and not pass it through the distribution chains that we've currently had. And your farmer's going to be happy, you're going to be happier, and it's a better system in the long run. You know, farmers, we've been the first environmentalists for years. So what they're doing today is something we has a common practice. And I think farmers in general get a bad name for environmental by some environmental groups, because I think we get a finger pointed at us in a lot of ways because we're such a broad group that we don't feel like anybody's pointing directly at us when they say farmers. But I have a lot of my urban neighbors know that we take pride in agriculture, we take pride in the environment and the natural resources that we protect and we have here on the farm, and we don't do anything that we think is going to degrade those at all. And we think we're actually benefiting the environment by the practices that we instill. We have something called best management practices. It's kind of a buzzword throughout the industry. And most of those standards that the government has come through with and called them these best management practices are practices that many producers have been doing for years. And so, as I said before, nobody wants to take better care of that farm and that land than the owner. And that's where it needs to stay. And landowners need to have the right to take care of that property as they wish, because they're going to do a better job of it than some government agency. Well, the world economic crisis going through right now is definitely felt in agriculture and through the farm. Usually in a bad economy, agriculture usually is pretty strong, because a lot of times when the stock market isn't doing as well, a lot of people want to get back to investing in commodities, corn, soybeans, wheats, even crude oil, and they feel like there's a better investment, there's something that's tangible you can hold versus buying and investing in a piece of paper essentially in the stock market. And so we've definitely seen a boom in the last 3 years in the commodities. And it's a little scary in a way, because some of those markets sometimes can get artificially inflated, and that when people have a change of heart or want to put money back in the stock market, some of that money is moved. We won't call that emotional money, and therefore markets can come back down. Well, when the rising markets, you're starting to see, growing up, $4 corn was considered the gold standard. $4 corn would make a man rich, so I was told when I was a child. Well, $4 corn today won't even pay the bills to plant an acre of corn. You know, we're looking at probably $6 to $7 corn, and back in the middle of the summer when Iowa flooded, you're seeing corn going up toward $8. A lot of analysts predicted going to $10. Well, many inputs here on the farm are purchased today. So we aren't as sustainable as maybe a few generations were. We're buying many of our inputs in today, commercial fertilizers and seeds, and definitely all of our equipment and things, and all that stuff goes up as commodity prices goes up. So as we see a record high farm incomes go up, well, our profit margin is probably staying about the same, because the inputs are trickling along right with it. And you're starting to see, 5 years ago I could buy diesel fuel here for like $1.19 on the farm. I got some delivered this summer for $4.19. Okay, that's a huge increase. And most of that increase took place in the past 8 months, just like gas prices. So the farm income is pretty much stabilized or stayed about the same, where definitely, but what's scary is the input's already invested. The crop's still in the field. So you have a hard economic crisis, the fall of Wall Street last week. Well, the commodity markets followed it. And so you've got to break even on an acre of corn right now about $4. Well, corn's selling for about $3.70. So that makes everybody a little nervous. And so something we need to pay attention to and protect ourselves where we can. A lot of large-scale operations use these commodity products that they produce, beef, whether it be corn or soybeans, because you can do large-scale operations with few people. You can do most of the operations mechanized, so you can take a 1,000-acre farm and put it in corn and soybeans and a few beef cattle and have a pretty sustainable economic entity. Where you take an acre of garden that you're going to sell into your local produce, or for every, I have a different appreciation for an acre, how big, large an acre is, once I put in some grapevines and started working those vines by hand. So I don't think it's the answer to the world problems is going to be to turn every acre of farmland into a backyard garden and we're all going to prosper. Definitely there are niche operations where if you can take a couple acres off, say your 100 acres, and do a garden or a CSA or a produce that you're going to sell at the local farmers market to supplement it, and the rest of the farm you're going to do commodities, your pastures or your crops and things like that. It's a nice blend there. And so it's going to be a balance. I don't think we're ever going to get away from the commodity system, because there's still large plots of land out there that we just can't all farm with a hoe. But there's a place for all of it. And we need to make sure everybody has a place at the table in this. That if you want to, this country, if you want to succeed, you ought to have the right to succeed, as long as you abide by the letter of the law. So if you have an idea, even though some law enrichment or it may not be, if you have a great idea how to get your product to the consumer, well, we need to make sure first that it's legal to do that. Get those hurdles, and then let's make sure if all they are hurdles, let's get those hurdles out of the way, and let's let that entrepreneur do what he knows to do, because he has the best ideas of all. You can get in touch with Virginia Farm Bureau at vafb.com or at saveourfood.org. And the saveourfood.org is more of the getting connected with the local food movement. It gives you lots of connections there on the website to where you can find your local farmers markets or some of your local producers and things like that, and also just some food from the farm. And it also allows you to join one of the largest member farmer organizations in the state of Virginia, and that's Virginia Farm Bureau. And we're trying to make a common voice for all farmers and all landowners and all who recognize the value of production agriculture here in the state of Virginia.
So there you have it. Join us again next time on Meet the Farmer TV. For additional information and extended versions of this program, visit our website, www.meetthefarmer.com. Meet the Farmer TV was made possible by the generous support of Planet Earth Diversified and Melly Productions, with additional support from Flavor Magazine, serving the Piedmont's local food and wine culture.